Hey everybody, it's Marty, the JavaScript party. It looks like my camera's doing its weird thing again. Let's see. It is 8 a.m. on Thursday, so we're almost to the weekend. Um, and it is March 6th, and it's a bit chilly, but not crazy. It was very wet last night, but it was super windy as well. So now it's fairly dry out there when I took the dogs for a walk this morning. And everything's pretty good. Um, I did finish up, or I do got a bunch, most of, well, I got all my cards for the slides that we have for the paralegal stuff. So there they are. So this is what I have to have memorized before the next test. Um, when I was in engineering school, I always had 4 classes that I would have 4 of these, and I would always be like trying to memorize massive amounts of cards before every test. It was always like it was a heck of a thing. Um, but now I just have the 1 class, so it's going to be a lot easier, I think. And it's pretty neat. I think the language, it's crazy. Um, the language difference between the law and regular standard English. Um, but that is that. So basically, last time we got the four. We had sort of made 2 times ago. We 2 episodes ago we kind of converted from having just discrete variables to an array of variables, and then but in the template it was still using it was basically using the array as discrete variables. So basically I hard coded what to. And so this time what I did was yesterday what I did was I just created a for loop inside the template to go over all of them. And there were some challenges. It was fun. It was interesting. And now we have a pretty cool thing. But so I think there's like 2 obvious things that need to happen that I've just sort of run across as part of coding, which I think when that happens, when you start like just running across things that need to be done, that's fairly good indication that you're sort of outside of your experience depth. And then you are moving into more of a like discovery mode. And when you're in discovery mode, you need to tread very carefully because it's very easy to make mistakes, unknowingly make mistakes. It's almost 100%, I think, that you're going to make a mistake that you ends up painting you in the corner, and then you end up probably being better off rebuilding from scratch now that you understand. So like the first month of this application, almost like month and a half of this application, like nothing was happening from a UI perspective. It was just like layers and layers of code in different being built out in different places, and that's because I had a strong understanding of what I wanted from an architectural perspective. But now at this point, as I roll forward, I'm like, oh crap, I need this. Oh crap, I need that, and that's sort of a different. That's a different mode, and so then it's important to take a lot of care in that. So there's 2 obvious pieces of work that need to be done beyond anything that is just sort of my heart's desire of things that I want, which like at the top of the 2 top things that my heart's desire is, I would like a little menu here that I can add these with, and I would like a way to like actually update this um, dynamically. So like forms, download, upload, or even a big text box that I can just look at the JSON and tweak and modify. But those are my heart's desire. But the obvious things that need to be done is some set of code needs to be written that knows how to place these things on a screen that's reasonable, um, and then will allow me to move them around if I want. So that's one set of things that just obviously needs to be done right now. The other obvious thing is this is not good, right? It would be a lot better if it was more like when I, you know, get my base renderer, if it has sort of the ability to add a base um, animation so that I don't have this hacking stuff in here. So those are the two things that need to be done. But both of those things, I think, will require sort of a lot of thought. And I would like to have like a commit that just has everything that kind of handles this new creating animations on the fly, like in from a code perspective, not hacking them in, but in a functional way. Like I would like that to be in its own commit, and then I would also like the I would call it the masonry worker, the masonry function that knows how to take the list and then and you tell it the initial one, the one that you want it to determine, and it returns a position for you. Um, like those two really need to be in their own commits, just because they need to be considered on their own. So since that is the case, I think it is time to make a commit. And before I make a commit, first things first, I always look through the changed code. And it is a good sign that this code is sort of getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Um, I don't think I need this style color equals beige. I don't know what that's even doing. It'd be fun to watch yesterday's video and figure out why I even did that, but I don't think I need that. Actually, I don't think that was in yesterday's video. Um, and I think we don't even need this, I don't think, this div. And it is so important to get rid of code that you don't need, because it's very distracting. Uh, it can make maintenance way more complicated, because you can't, like right now I could just delete it. It's real easy to just say, hey, I don't need this, and delete it, but I won't have that. I'm just looking for console logs. um, I won't have that in the near future. I mean, in when I then if I do this in the future, I won't be able to be so sure that I can just delete it. It won't be obvious, and then I'll be like, okay, I think I can just delete this, but I don't want to delete it because I don't know if it's going to have some unintended consequence. All right, so I think all that looks good. So we're going to commit this, and uh, basically all it does is move logic the um, out of the component. So git add, oops, I'm in cap locks. Git add dot. Oh, I don't want to do a commit though. So let's undo that, because we want to make sure. What is this? That stash changes. We want to unstage the changes. So to stage them, you use the add command. Why we don't use stage command for that, I don't know, but I do like to say that every single time so that it kind of pounds in my head that add and stage are synonyms in this context. All right, so let's do an npm run test. And this will run all our unit tests. I don't think there's really nothing in here that I would even want to unit test, but I know that it will still get, it'll all get executed, because I know both the app and the viz component just automatically get executed on the, as part of just the boot. Like when you do the app, it'll also render the template, which will then render the viz, which will then run all of the code that's inside of those. And I don't have any unusual oops, like I don't have any branches or anything that won't get covered. Ooh, we do have a failure. the very first one, it looks like. Let's see. I think we can mouse over. Viz component should create. So that one fails. And I wish there was like, so all we know is should create is the name of it, and we know it's in Viz component, but really that is sort of one of the things I kind of forgot about, that when you make it's a lot easier if you kind of make if you try to make when you're searching, if you have a unique string. So should create Viz component. So now this is the only unit test that would be named should create Viz component. Now we don't know why it's failing. It could very well be that there's like something's trying to be brought in or something. Or I guess the thing is the Viz component actually gets an input, and that input is required, and it's not being created. And I don't know how to do that really. So let's go ahead and ask GPT, Chat GPT. So in Angular 19, I am going to unit test a component that accepts, that has a required input. How do I supply input? See if that makes any sense. So here's our unit test. So they're kind of giving us, hey, this is what the component would look like, and it has this input, and the name of it is data. And then over here, okay, so it looks like we would have to provide required. So we need to add this override component or fixture component instance. This is where I get nervous with ChatGPT. Like, did it just invent override component? Fixture, simpler but requires to detect changes. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and then this is kind of a new thing for me, is I'm actually just going to do a search on Google to see if testbed override component is a thing, or if it literally just made that up. Okay, so it looks like this is a real thing. And then it looks like they do it here too, I think. So I don't see, they're not using it there. So I guess the big difference is detect changes. You don't have to run detect changes if you use the other one. Detect changes spec. What was it called? Test override? Override component. So I want to come over here and just go to wherever. I really don't want to become like a... Okay, so override component providers. So that's at the very bottom. So this one doesn't really have an input. Can replace the components providers with easy. So this is the specification file. Seems like you just give it a... So, oh, so this also, I guess, is primarily made for the providers, not for the inputs. I don't really understand what the override component... Okay, so what is the purpose of the override component? Okay, so it's not possible to stub components here, dude. Angular creates its own component with its own injector. So like here, it kind of gives the impression that the main reason you would use this override component concept is to provide the like services. Okay, so then let's see what it says over here. So this one kind of started with override component, and like it kind of implies that all you're trying to do is, where do we do the override component? Set inputs. Provide the required input using fixture component instance. You would run this and you'd say detect changes, and then you just set the value, and then you say detect. Before each, you create the component, and so I'm already await test big configure testing module compile component. So I'm doing something a little different than this. Fixture detect, and I'm already running detect changes, so that's no big deal. I wonder if override component is new. Now you probably wouldn't be able to, like, if you work in an existing place, they probably already have things done. Okay, is new in Angular 16. So it's been around for a while. Yes, is new in Angular 16. It's part of the Angular testing API to override the metadata, e.g. inputs, outputs, and providers of a component before creating the component instance. This is especially useful when supplying required at input without modifying the test setup globally. You can easily provide inputs without manually setting up a component instance. Keep your tests set up clean and component specific. Avoids unnecessary boilerplate. No need for host component to use supplied inputs. Use input value, some value, fixture. So it kind of looks like their default that they give you is sort of the old way, right? Not really. I mean, it's kind of funny they say you don't need to, you don't have to, you have to do the, oh, so they're saying I could actually comment this out if I use the override component. And I would put the override right here. So it would be like dot override component. And then I would do this. And then I would say viz component without quotes around it. And then I would be like that. And then inside of here, I would say set, and then would give it an inputs. And then the name of that one is data, but the name of mine is not data. It is render input ID, which is just a number. So that's easy. That's nice. And I don't know what happens. It'll be very interesting to see if I just give it a number and the thing doesn't exist or anything. I don't know what my code does. And I think it's supposed to be a string. One? Was it supposed to be a string? Was it supposed to be a number? Oh, it's a number. So, okay, let's try this again. I'm about to sneeze. Well, maybe not. Sneezing is funny. Let's see. Okay, so that works. So I have this little switch here, and I can turn off the sound that way. Override component. Okay, so that's supposed to be a number. So let's change this to 1. So basically there is no, okay, so now what's the problem? Is that supposed to be inside of, no? Okay, I'm confused by that. It was st render input ID. And it's saying that it's because it's upset because it's a string. Object literal may only specify known properties. What? Inputs. So it's happy with this. Well, let's see. See if it's happy with like nothing. Give you nothing. No. Now what's it complaining about? Type is missing property. Inputs. Let's look at their. Oh, maybe that's supposed to be an array. Kind of looks like it might need to be an array. Oh, wrong one. No. Okay, so its name is string, alias is string, undefined, required Boolean. I feel like something is missing here. Let's see, Control F. Let's see if they have inputs on here. Clicking trigger event handler, so that is definitely not the one we want. Component inputs and outputs, but see, I'm all the way, it's up in this other thing. So this clearly does not work. Let's see if I say set. Now I know, Rhett, I know we aren't making any progress here at all. Data. And then the name of this input is stRenderer ID. And then I'm still upset about that. And I know that it has to be a number, so we'll just take care of that right now. 1, and then. So it's saying that it does not exist on this function. It does not exist. Okay, so I'm just going to hit save again. Okay, so it says object loader may only specify known properties of s put, and s does not exist on type string. Name string alias string so like this is a function, right? On string. So it's saying that it could be like this thing. Let me see. So it's weird. It has like this thing, which I think indicates that this is going to be a function. In type. Okay. So it's not working. So. Working. S error. The most common and reliable. Okay, so does this do the test override? I don't see this. Test bed override component. Test bed create component. I don't even see the override component in this. Have I gone completely insane? Okay, so that's providing. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know what that red herring was, but it looks like what I need to do is use the original. thing where I do, yeah, that shit don't work. It works with Pro, so it made this part up, um, which is hilarious if you think about it. Because yeah, but I don't want to use. Okay, use test bed, right? Okay, one. What we want is number two, which is going to be two. Okay, let's get rid of this. Control Z. That is hilarious. And that is the problems with ChatGPT in a nutshell. Like, you don't actually, it is actually very difficult to pick out where it has decided to be creative. So this was very good. Like, the way it did this was very good, except for this piece right here. It just made that shit up. And apparently there's a way you need to create a function that returns an array, and or something like that. I don't know exactly what you're supposed to do. Don't know if even if you do that, if it'll work. But looks like what we want to do is over here, we want to say component. And see, this is fun, right? Like, this is fun, learning how ChatGPT works and learning how that. But man, if you're trying to do this at work and you're going through that, that is straight up stressful. St render input ID is equal to 1. Oh man, now why? Now what is your problem? Oh, maybe that was a problem from the beginning as I was trying to give it a signal. I'm supposed to be giving it a signal, not a number. Oh, maybe that was the issue. So let's try this. So it looks like what I need to do, it seems to be failing because my input is a signal. Okay, so that's the thing with the input, with the, being a signal. And then let's try that. Man, what an adventure this has been. I would never, ever, 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 when I was getting ready to start this video, I never, ever, 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 ever would have thought that. Okay, what is component instance in this? Oh, it's right there. And then I don't seem to have a set input. let's just try this. Let's just copy this whole darn thing. See what kind of error we get. Man, I thought we were there. Oh. I didn't copy the whole thing. Oh my gosh. Input. Okay, so. So now, so am I doing the right thing up top? Await declarations, compile, so something along that line, fixtures equal to test bed. Yeah, so I'm doing. Is only available for test harness, but not directly. Oh. Component data dot set. So my confidence that this is actually going to work is very low, because I don't think it's taken into account component dot s2 render input ID dot. Yeah, I don't have a set. Okay, so let me do it. I think what I'm going to have to do is actually manually create a signal, which I don't really know exactly how to do that. Oh my gosh, we just went all the way into this a circle. Host directives. What is this wrapper thing it keeps talking about? Okay, so what does it want me to do now? So we're back to override component. Add host directive. All right. So that doesn't work. Led astray again by ChatGPT. We're back to override components. Component, and then we give the name of our component, and then we give it a comma, and then a add, which is, that's good news, and then host directives, which I'm guessing gets pulled in, I don't know where host directives comes from. Or I guess host directives is just a property name. Host directives, and then an array, and then inside of it, we give it a parentheses, and we give it the word directive as a property name. We're still good. I have such low confidence in this working. And then we tell it viz component, and then inputs, and then we give it a parentheses. Man, I have so low confidence. Okay, so now we are literally back to the original problem. And then, I don't remember what the name of the thing was. We're just gonna play this thing all the way through until oh, the bleeding edge. And no. And we're right back to the original. So it's like it does not exist on type string. So it wants an array of strings. I feel like I'm so close. ST. What is the name of this thing again? See, the thing is though, I don't know how I'm going to tell it that the value. Or maybe it's just, well, it's strings, so it's. See what kind of error we get now. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Oh, it's still broken though, I think. What happens now? Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, it's still the same. Cannot be host directive. Okay, so I'm just going to make this smaller. Man, we're getting close though. Okay, so this is just supposed to be this. And then it looks like it's saying that now what we're going to do. Fixture dot component instance. Oh my gosh. It's still saying that one failed. And I don't know, it could be like a better failure now. It could be like, hey, we couldn't find our. So here is the thing coming up. Yeah, so I'm guessing this is still the same. Component instant cannot read property of undefined reading component instance. So it's like fixture.component. Either there it's failing or there. And so I guess the, oh wait. Oh. Maybe this needs to go before this. Create component. I'm not actually expecting it to pass. Host directive cannot be a component. Where does it? Fixtures equal component instance. Okay, so I think my order is slightly out of here. Okay, so this component happens up here. It might matter. I don't think so, because all we're doing is assigning that, and now we're trying to update this, but it's complaining that host directive can't be a component. Okay, so let's see. The name of this component is example component, so I'm going to change this. Okay, so let's look at our code and see if we can figure out what the heck is going on. Oh, I have to start work in 12 minutes. Okay, so we got this, that's right, before each. It's saying that we need to do a declaration. Example component. And we need to do an actual declaration. God, this is very difficult to believe. And we shouldn't be doing the imports, we should be doing the declarations. So I think what's happening, what it seems like is happening is it's trying to merge like multiple different sorts of solutions because there's like signals, there's all kinds of different things. And so this found a declaration. Yeah, so See, now it's upset because this is a standalone and not a, so we don't do declarations. See what else is different. Component instance, component as data, as any. Oh, so this is different. Okay, so basically, this is hilarious. And this definitely feels like something that is very likely to end up being like something that doesn't end up being supported in the future. So it just seems like a short-term hack. Okay, so it's like still throwing an error, but it's not, doesn't seem to be updating the actual test. So this will be the last thing I try today, and then we'll make another run at this tomorrow. See, we are just like on a stack of technologies, right? We got all these technologies all stacked up on each other, and um, any little thing that changes along the way can just break everything. So we're still at the host directive cannot be a component error. Um, we did make all the changes that we could. What is this wrapper? Oh, I see. Oh, I see what they're saying. They're saying create like another, actually create the outside and pass it in. Create the template, have it run the template. I guess we'll try that tomorrow. That makes a lot of sense. Um, but because all we want it to do is run. Now the thing is it does need, we will need to, we just getting it to work will be sort of half the battle, because then we actually do need to actually set up where there is an actual viz component. Anyway, so that was a swing and a miss. Looks like the camera thing fixed itself. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.